Some things just go together. Wine and cheese, flowers in springtime, and yes, books and bottles. We pair your favorite author with your favorite drink. Your host of Books and Bottles, Benita Johnson.
Hi, welcome to Books and Bottles. I'm your host, Benita Johnson. We're back for another great episode where we introduce you to your favorite author and we pair it with your favorite wine and spirit. If this is your first time, thank you so much for tuning in. If you're family, thanks for coming back. But we invite all of you to share this video wherever you're viewing it so other folks can see it. So typically we bring an author on, but today we're doing something a little bit different. So if you're an author, you know the dream is to have a publisher, right? Sometimes we do it ourselves, but sometimes we're looking for a publisher. So today we have a publisher on our show. So I introduce to you Miss Tarkessa Colvin.
Hey,
how you doing? Look, yellow. We both doing the shades of yellow.
Yes, we are. How are you today, Benita?
I'm doing well. Thanks for being on Books and Bottles.
I'm so excited about this because you put together my two favorite things.
With books and wine, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Cheers to that.
Hey, let's do it officially. Cheers.
Cheers, clank. So tell us about you before we get into the books.
Okay, so me, I am a wife. I am a mom of 4, but that includes 2 fur babies.
Okay.
And I have a grandkitten. Like, I didn't think that was going to be a thing, but it's a thing. And he's like a toddler. Like, at any moment, I'm like, get off my desk. So yeah, that's me. I'm a Southern girl who was raised in the North, so you get the best of both worlds.
Okay. Where are you born?
I was born in Alabama.
Okay.
Alabama. I'm a grits girl. That'll cut you. So
salt and pepper or butter and sugar?
Oh, salt and pepper and a little cheese.
Okay.
A little cheese. Sugar, don't do that. I am not team sugar in the grits. No.
Okay. All right. So how did you get into publishing? No, first, what's the name of your publishing company? I need to know.
The name of my publishing company is I Now Publishing.
Okay.
And it's a whole thing. So I can't wait to tell you the story. So I started out, of course, as an author. And I took the traditional path like everybody else. I'm like submitting to big publishing houses and all of the things. And I looked up and I had sent my manuscript to like 60 people.
Wow.
And
you said 60, like 60?
And like one of the big houses showed interest. And I was like, this is it. This is my moment. I'm not going to know any of y'all. It's about to happen. It didn't.
Yes, you're about to be Alice Walker, right?
Yeah, it didn't go that way. But the editor was like, oh my goodness, you're an amazing writer. Your storytelling is amazing. And then she like stabbed me in the heart. She's like, you don't have anything about like vampires and werewolves? I was like, I'm an adult. No. I don't know any. I don't hang out with vampires and werewolves. And she's like, you'll never be published unless you learn to write to formula. And I had never heard that. And I was like, what does that mean?
So yeah, what does that mean?
What she meant was whatever the trend is, of course, publishers, movies, they want to hop on the current trend. And at the time, I'm telling my age, at the time, it was all about the love triangle between a vampire and a werewolf and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I don't write that, and I wrote a mafia story. I'm like that. You want me to turn them into vampires? This is
right.
crazy.
But you would think that mafia is timeless,
I feel that way. You feel that way. But they were aiming for a different audience. They were trying to get in on a trend to make it easy for them. And from a publishing standpoint, from a business perspective, I get it. But as the creative at the time, I was deflated. I was like, I'll never be published unless this is what I'm doing. And I can be honest and tell you, for 2 years, I didn't write a word. I didn't write an email, I don't think. I had writer's block.
Yeah, I can see that. That's kind of crushing.
It was so deflating. And then one of my good friends, who shall remain nameless because she was mean to me at that time, she was like, "You gonna let these people write your story?" And I needed that, but I was like, the attitude with which she gave me the truth was hurtful. I didn't appreciate that. But ultimately I did. I'm not gonna say like the next day I started writing, but she had a point. I can't let other people write my story for me or write the end of my story for me. So it was like, what are my options? And I started researching. And it was like self-publishing. It was like, that's not real publishing, but it is.
It is.
And so from there, I want to say it took me maybe 6 months to wrap my head around getting behind the keyboard again.
Okay.
But I was hell-bent on learning the publishing process.
So let me ask you, when you went through the publishing process, did you put out the book that you originally wrote?
I did.
Okay.
I did. Yes, I did. And so, listen, I wrote 19 books in 6 years.
Wow.
Now, I'm not going to tell you they was all stellar.
Okay.
But I was learning the process. I needed to know how it worked to self-publish to this platform and this platform, and how to understand the difference between, when you're writing across genre, the types of fonts to use and the colors to use and the imagery to use on the covers. I needed to know that. And so I had to be the crash test dummy. Okay. And I did that. And from there, it was smooth sailing. I had a process. In that time frame, I created this 5-step process to write a book quickly. It doesn't matter if it's fiction. It doesn't matter if it's nonfiction. I'm talking about, I've had people work with me when I was doing publishing consulting, and we sat by the pool and I was pouring wine. I had a retreat. It was called the Writing and Wine Retreat. And yes, and we sat by the pool, and I had one of my participants, she wrote her book in 4 hours.
That's amazing.
And it was powerful. And here's the thing. Once you have that proven process, you can do it over and over again.
Oh,
and
wow.
So when you kind of fast forward out of me being a publishing consultant and getting into publishing, my whole thing is, I'm a publishing company, yes, but I'm not like anybody else's publishing company. I partner with authors to make sure they understand that they are a whole business. Once you hit publish, you are a business. And it's time to get this money.
Make this money.
It's a whole process. Like, if you build it, they will come. That's not a thing. That's
okay.
Not a thing. Yeah.
So I got a question. I'm going back. When you decided that, okay, I'm going to publish my own book, but I'm also going to learn the process. At that time, did you think that you were going to have a publishing company to help others, or you just felt like, I'm doing this to save myself?
It was for me.
Okay.
Not even gonna lie. It was for me because I was so mad. I was like, how dare you? You know, as a creative, I'm like, how dare you put me in a box? I have the ability to dream and weave worlds, and you're gonna put me in a box. And I felt so mad and so disrespected that I was like, never again. I want to be in control of my art. Okay. And that was a driving force behind that. And also, you know, from a personal perspective, I had a job I hated, and I'm like, if I can get this thing to work,
yes,
and take care of these kiddos, that'd be great. And so, you know, that was the driving force behind it.
I can see that. Okay, so I Now Publishing is born. When did you start the publishing company?
I started in the pandemic, so it was a dream of mine. Actually, the beginning of 2020. Okay. But then this funny little thing happened called COVID. And it was like, what do we do now? What is life? What do we do other than stream stuff? So around the middle of September, I was like, you know what? This is our way of life. I got to figure this thing out. And boom, I was like, I'm doing it. Okay. This is happening. And my primary driver, it has shifted. While I know how to publish, I wanted to make sure that there was a business entity that was supporting authors. Okay. And so when I say that, people are like, what does that mean? When I contract authors, it's not just as a publisher. I partner with them. And a part of that is monetization. So when I bring you in, I have what I call an agency contract. When I bring you in, I'm teaching you how. I have a formula. It's called the $254,000 per book formula. Okay. And I take these authors through that. I have an author who in a couple of months, she's doing a live event, and I'm going to go and support her and show her how to sell her expertise from the stage.
That's beautiful.
She was thinking she was just going to get ticket sales, but I'm like, no. People need more than a weekend to transform for you to teach them, and that's fiction or nonfiction. There's so much expertise that goes into writing a book that people think, well, I wrote fiction. How can I monetize that? I'm like, can you teach somebody how to weave a world? Can you teach someone the art of showing versus telling in their book? There's so much. You have skill sets like, the movie, you have a very particular skill set that people will pay to have you accelerate their process. If it took you 2 years, can you help them do it in 1?
Oh, wow.
And so that, I know it was a lot. I know that was a lot.
Okay, no, but I mean, okay, so you were this business was born in COVID, so it's only about 1.5 years old because you said September. So I do have to ask a question about COVID, and I think I've asked this to a few of our authors in terms of the writing process. Did this change in the world impact your writing?
Not mine, but I've had authors who are writing fiction. And they're like, how do I weave a world where it's assimilated reality without including COVID? I'm like, you just do it. You're weaving a world. Write a world without COVID, or write a world with COVID the way that you see it. And so I've had to help authors shift their mindset, because COVID, even though you had all of this time to yourself, it wasn't necessarily a productive time.
Oh, I thought it was just me, because I know, when my job first ended, going into COVID, because of COVID, I was like, oh, great, I got time. I can write, I can do all these things. But, I dubbed it like a COVID depression, where it was almost paralyzing that, you could not sit at the laptop or hold a pen and just write, because it was just so, like, for me, I'm an extrovert. And so having to be in my house and not go out, to dinner 5 days a week, that was a drastic change for me. Yeah.
And so you have two extremes. You have when you can't write because of overstimulation, and then you have when you can't write because of understimulation. When all you have is your four walls and, streaming, or you have gotten to the end of some streaming platform and you're like, I have watched everything.
Everything. You're on social media begging people for new series to watch. And I wasn't a big TV person pre-COVID. So
and so all of the ways that we would normally get inspiration, even if it was just a seed planted, were taken away.
Yeah.
And so that's hard. That is so hard. There's only so many love scenes you can write in a laundry room, and you'd be like, all right, it's the washing machine. Got it.
All right. So other than your book, tell us the name of your book first. I don't want to just pass over that.
So I have several books. My favorite book. Oh my gosh.
That's okay. We have all types of stuff going on here.
I have no idea what that was. Okay, so it's the shredder. Sorry. My favorite book, fiction that I wrote, is called Dark Princess.
Dark Princess.
Yes. And so it's the mafia story. And it's my favorite because it was my first. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. The most fun book that I have written, it was fiction also, and it's a series, and it's called, the first installation is called Shattered, and it's a YA, and it's about a young girl. There's a kind of a spinoff. She has the ability, like, she can hone in on a nice pair of shoes and then walk a mile in a person's shoes. Like she can hitch a ride with them for the day.
Okay, so that's kind of like almost like science fiction.
It's paranormal YA, and there's some little short stories I did around that called The Secret Lives of a Shoe Thief.
And got this obsession with shoes, huh?
I love me a shoe. I love a shoe. I enjoy a shoe. And then my favorite nonfiction book is called The Money Code and How to Crack It. And that one was a passion project for me, where I got a bunch of financial experts together who were women. And we talked about the impact of money on women and how we navigate it. And I had the opportunity to share a story about, I didn't realize I had money trauma. I didn't know. And
so
I
describe money trauma, because I may have it too. Usually because I don't have any.
So for me, here's how I figured it out. So I went to the grocery store, right? We all do that. And I was coming out, and I'm in Alabama. So I was like, oh, it's hot. And it was a soda machine outside. And I was like, oh, it takes debit. And so how much is a soda? Maybe $1.09, $1.20,
Okay.
I don't know. And I pulled out 2 debit cards just in case. And I was like,
Wow.
what was
You were
that?
thinking, just in case there's no money on this one.
That's the one. And I was like, what was that? For $1? And so when I sat with that, what I realized, it took me back to when I was a single mom and I was at Walmart and I had just gotten some bare necessities, and I got up to the checkout and I swiped the card, and that sucker did not go through.
Yeah, it did not.
And everything that I felt like everybody's eyes were on me, and I'm like, it seemed like my baby got louder at that moment, like all of the things. And it just embedded in me to have that backup kind of payment processing option.
Okay.
And I didn't realize it until I pulled out 2 debit cards to buy $1 or whatever soda.
Right. I can see that though. I think sometimes, we, especially now since banking is mobile, we can check from our fingertips how much money is in your account, how much you have left on this credit card or whatever.
All of that.
Yeah. So I can see, okay, money trauma. That's really good. I like that.
That's my favorite nonfiction book right now.
Just also on a tangent before we come back. The money thing. Now I don't know about you. When I was growing up, they didn't really talk to us so much about money. I didn't learn about credit until mine was bad and I had to fix it.
That part.
So I had to teach my kids at a younger age that this is what we have to do so it doesn't get to this level. But I've been seeing, just since I'm like everybody else, like watching TV constantly, I've been seeing more shows that actually deal with money and women and Black women with money.
Yeah.
So just
100%. So that's why it was a passion project of mine, because I was like, and some of the stories that women told about, how they felt about money and how they equated the amount of money they had to their own personal value and worth. Like we do that. So that's one of my favorite projects.
Oh, wow. That's great. I have to read that. I'll have to get that from you. So what was your first book tell us about your first book or author that became a part of iNow Publishing?
So I've had a couple of authors come through. I'm working with an author. I'm very excited. And I'm going to go ahead and drop her name. Her name is Dr. Tammy Barnett.
Okay.
And Dr. Barnett is the truth. She is writing a 3-part series empowering women, young women, middle-aged women, and older women. And she's so good at what she does, just peeling back those layers. And one of her movement is called Unwrapping Imperfection. Okay. And the reason is because we're perfectly imperfect. And I get so excited talking to her because I feel so, it's kind of a cheat because she'll be talking and she's just pouring into me. And I'm like, oh yes. And the project is moving along perfectly. But she is one of those people that when she speaks life. And I can't wait for people to peel back the layers and read this book, especially because she's like covering the myriad, because we all have different layers that we add on as we get older. And just like you were just talking about the money, like, we didn't know we had a challenge with money until we had a challenge with money.
Right.
And so just talking those things through and talking about worth in a way that is inherently feminine and not based on a masculine perspective or perception of femininity and being a woman. It's a powerful movement, and I'm so excited about it. And she knows this stuff. She's a psychologist, but she's a woman, and she's a woman of color, and she is no joke.
Oh wow, I'm excited about that because that's some just powerful and things that women are talking. And, we're saying things that are important, and we're talking to each other.
Yes.
We're more transparent. We're putting our own personal stories out there,
Yes.
and it's helping others heal. So I just love, this energy that we have now. We're putting it out there. We ain't scared.
We're not. And we don't have anything to be ashamed of, because we're survivors and we're growers and we're thrivers.
So when when authors approach you, have you ever had one of those moments like you had, when the person called you and said, hey, you write well, but I can't publish this? So have you ever had folks come to you with stuff and you're like, this is great, but I can't publish it?
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
However, and I have an acquisitions support rep that helps me with this. So I have gotten manuscripts that were streams of consciousness. There was no punctuation. There was no, and I'm like, okay, I understand where you're trying to go, but I can't do anything with this. You're gonna have to put some more work. You're gonna have to love this some more before I can do anything with it.
Okay.
And a large part of that, the reason that we're set up that way, is because it has to be a partnership. In that situation, at some point, we're gonna start to feel bamboozled and unappreciated or overworked or what have you, because I need you to meet me halfway.
Okay.
I'm not saying that the manuscript has to be edited and it's got to be perfect and all of those things, but I'm saying it's got to have some punctuation.
Yeah, I hear you.
It's got to have a beginning, a middle, and an end that we can work with. And so that's the part. And then once you bring me that and you let me know the vision and you're coachable, you have to be coachable.
Oh, okay. Because everybody thinks they wrote the next great,
I didn't think that. I did not think that. But at the same time, I knew I wasn't gonna write about vampires and werewolves. Yeah. So that's the thing, being coachable, especially when working with us and work in this industry, period. You have to be coachable. There are some people who will give you some amazing advice around writing, around making people love your characters. The hardest thing for me was writing a character that people hated. I had to get some coaching on that.
Okay.
Because I'm like
the villain.
Yeah, because you can't just say they're the bad guy.
Like, you gotta develop them.
Exactly. Make me hate. I can write a character that you love. I can write that, but it was very challenging to write someone that you hated. So how am I going to do that without coaching?
So what's your writing process?
Ooh, okay. So right now, my writing process is always starting with a brain dump. Because the brain dump is perfect. Not as far as format, but the information and the richness of it. When you do a brain dump, everything that you imagine, you put it down on the paper. And this is fiction or nonfiction, right? And I know you're like, what? Everything that you envision telling a reader or a reader absorbing from you, you put it down on paper. That's my first process, and all the way through. There is no editing until everything comes out of your brain. You cannot write and edit at the same time. This is me telling me that. You can't write and edit at the same time. It's like trying to put your car in reverse and drive. Yeah. You're not going to go anywhere. And so that's my first thing. Get it all out of your head, and treat it as if it's perfect. Perfect in that it tells the vision. And then you let it sit. I just have to let it sit. And then I go back into it, and it depends on am I going back into it as the writer, or am I going back into it to see if this is a good product? Okay.
I like that. Okay, so we dump everything out, we walk away, and then we come back and say, let's see what happened.
Yes.
All right. I think of it like bread. We make it some bread dough. We walk away. If it rises, that's good. If it's just sitting there like a lump, throw it away.
You gotta start over. Just delete that. That don't count. Nobody saw it but you. It's fine.
That's right. It's fine. Never happened. Okay. That's great advice. Thanks for that. So we do have to talk about wine. So tell us, what's your favorite wine?
I am a Moscato girl.
Okay.
I love a sweet red. And it is no coincidence that I'm here. I told you before, I used to have a writing and wine retreat, and
we can have another one.
Is it time? Is that what you're saying? It's time for another?
Absolutely, yeah. Time to do that.
Yeah. I love a sweet red, and so I made sure all the ladies that were there had sweet reds, and I would, and we had a chef that came in and he paired his cooking with the wine, like, because I'm like, these are the wines we're having, so you
got to work it out.
You can do your little plates however you want.
I know, just put some food out there. I hear you. I sell wine, and one of the most popular wines that I sell is called Little Bosco, and it's would be like a Moscato. It's Malvasia is the grape, and so it's red. It's a little bit sparkling, like I'm
speaking my language.
Yep. So not full sparkling. Goes great with berries. I like it with chocolate. Just some about the chocolate and the wine. It almost tastes like chocolate with some raspberries or blueberries in it. But it's very popular. It's so funny. I do a lot of talking about the wine industry.
Yeah.
And folks will say, "Oh, I don't drink sweet wines." So all these folks around me don't drink sweet wines. And so,
well, it's just me and you, girl.
No, the numbers are telling a different story. Sweet wines do extremely well in the industry. And like I said, I've been selling wines since 2005. And I'm not a huge sweet wine drinker, but the sweet wines go fast. So you and I can drink together, because I will not touch your bottle of Moscato.
So then you put it all on me. So when I get to the end, it's really all on me.
It's on you. I'll drink my own. I'll bring what I like, but I'll bring that for you too.
I appreciate that, and I will take it.
All right. So if a person is, they have a book idea. What's the process? How do they just email it to you? How do they get in touch with you? And then what happens once y'all connect?
So if someone, we don't have open submissions right now because we have a number of projects in the pipeline.
Okay.
What I recommend is check the website. So we have the company website, which you can find anywhere, but we have a special group for authors that we invite them in, and they know immediately when we have open submissions.
Okay.
They get trainings, tips, all of the things. It's profitablepublishedauthors.com. When you come into that group,
profitablepublishedauthors.com. Okay.
Yes. Why is it profitablepublishedauthors.com? Because you won't forget that. You won't forget that because
and usually, most of us writing books, we're writing it to get paid.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a beautiful hobby, but most people, at the end of the day, a paycheck will just sweeten it a little bit.
It would, won't it? No, but also when you have authors that say things like it's not about the money, sometimes it is a passion project. I just told you about a passion project of mine. But also we have been conditioned to believe that as authors, we're not going to make any money. And so here's what I tell people. Real quick, tell me who James Patterson's publisher is. Nobody knows.
Yeah.
He is a brand all by himself. Same thing about Stephen King. I don't know who his publisher is. He's been around for a long time. So you are an author brand, you're a business, and that's what we focus on, and that's what we zero in on. And I would go as far as saying we are the only publishing company out there that essentially offers business coaching for authors.
I like that.
I
like that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Profitablepublishedauthors.com. Yeah. Thank you so much. That's really good to know. And I know folks gonna be hitting up that website.
I hope so. I'll be there.
Me over here. All right. What can we expect from you next, Tarkessa?
Let's see. Next, I'm really wanting to work on a project. I tried to work it out last year. The timing just wasn't good. Where I do an anthology for teachers. For teachers by teachers. That is my goal next. And so look out for that, because who better to give teachers advice on how to navigate this crazy new world that we have in teaching and not losing yourself and your mind than teachers.
That's very important. So I'll look out for that.
That's next. Yeah.
So I want to thank you again for being on Books and Bottles. This has been a great conversation. I've learned so much. I've had fun, and I'm sure our viewers have as well.
Thank you so much. I've had a great time.
Thank you. If you are an author and you like to be on Books and Bottles, hit us up at info@prod.com. I thank you so much for tuning in. Remember to share, and we will see you next week on Books and Bottles. Cheers.
Camped out at home for COVID? Join us, Indie TV, where you will see the talk shows, movies, drama, action, and comedy. Be the first and see it first. Sign up now for free at Indie TV.